What's up, Taylorverse? This week, we are going to do an episode where we revisit one of our favorites. It's been a kind of a strange week this week. My dad, one of my favorite Taylors out there in the Taylorverse, Mr. Steve Taylor, passed away this week. He crossed the Bifrost into the great beyond, and it's been a bummer of a week. I'm going to really miss him. The man gave me my love of all the pop culture things I love, the music I love, just the things I've really found joy in my life. All started with sharing things with him. I mean, the first movie I ever saw, I was 4 years old, and he took me to see the 1989 Michael Keaton Batman movie, and boom, hooked ever since. All because of him. So I want to take a minute to just thank him for all the joy he brought to my life, and all that to say, this week's kind of crazy and busy, and we are going to revisit one of our favorite episodes. We're going to go back to episode 100, where we interviewed our friend of the show, Mr. Aaron Smolinski. We got to interview him, and you might know him from Superman, Superman 3, Man of Steel, a lot of cool upcoming projects. But we thought it would be a cool week to bring that episode back out for maybe someone who might have missed it, or maybe you just want to hear it again because it was so awesome. But yeah, thanks guys. Go listen to our interview with Aaron Smolinski. This week, it is our very special 100th episode, and we are coming at you guys with a very special guest to help us celebrate. Welcome to the Infinite Taylorverse. Warning.
Red alert.
Ay, 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 ay!
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger!
That's the emergency alert.
This episode is full of spoilers for some of the latest and greatest nerdy movies and shows.
Spoilers.
Listener discretion is advised. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Infinite Taylorverse podcast. I'm Billie Taylor.
And I'm Taylor Oxner.
And this week, man, I still can't get over it. This is our 100th episode. Taylor, how crazy is that?
It's wild, just considering the fact that this was just kind of for fun. Now our 100th episode. We're about to do a really great interview again, and I'm really excited.
Exactly. And like you said, we're about to do an awesome interview. So anyone who's listened to more than 2 episodes of this podcast knows that one of my all-time favorite characters is Superman. I could go on and on about that character. Comics, books, movies, TV, you name it. I love the character. And tonight our guest he dipped his toes into that universe a little bit. We have my friend here, Mr. Aaron Smolinski. Aaron, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Taylors. Hey, first of all, congratulations on 100 episodes, man. That's terrific, and it's not an easy feat. So that's great, especially that it started off just a couple buddies having fun. That's always a great thing to do. And then Taylor, it's great to meet you for the first time. Billie, we've actually met in person a few times, and so it's great to speak to you again. But I am a little upset on the introduction you guys gave me because you both set me up by saying awesome and great. So now that's a big bar I have to hold up to. So I hope I don't screw it up for you guys.
You know what? I don't think you will. I think we're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Aaron, he's mentioned we've met before. I'm trying to think. I know back when social media was kind of starting to be a thing, I remember being a newbie at all this whole convention scene and meeting, celebrities that have something to do with the things I love. I remember somehow I liked your page or added you as a friend or something on Facebook, and I sent you a message like, hey man, I love Superman. How would I set up something to get an autograph? And come to find out very shortly after, you were going to be at a convention near me. I think it was the Smallville convention in Hutchinson, Kansas. And so we had a little bit of a back and forth online, and then a few months later I got to meet you, and it was kind of cool. This was right when my first son was born. Oliver was 2 months old, I think, and we have a picture of you holding my 2-month-old somewhere. But that was cool. I got to meet you in person, and I thought it was so cool meeting this guy that was from some of my most favorite movies I've ever watched in my whole life. So that was green at being a nerd, Billie, just fangirling out. And I think a couple times maybe at the Metropolis convention, the Superman celebration, and every time it's just awesome to see you. And thanks again for joining us.
Wasn't another one was it Kansas City as well, or?
Oh, that's right, the Kansas City Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
Yeah, Kansas City has the big Planet Comic Con, and then also for 3 or so years we had Kansas City Comic Con, and that's right, they did a whole Superman reunion there.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, there's been 3 or 4 times, and it's always fun to get to chat.
I love that. People always ask, about the conventions and stuff like that. And it really is something that I truly enjoy doing and getting to meet all, the fans, because I get to meet great people like yourself. And, you kind of get this social media friendship with you guys as well. But to meet you and hear all the stories, and it's really touching and humbling. Truthfully, I'm not just saying that to meet everybody and hear the stories and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I talk to Taylor all the time about this. Like every time I've got a bunch of fandoms out there. I'm a nerd of many colors. And every time I've become friends with someone like you and just, I'll post a picture of my kids and every now and again one of you guys will click like. And in my head I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like little kid me would have never thought, baby Kal-El over here is going to like my photos of my children." Like but yeah, I love it so much.
It's awesome.
Well, hey, we will get into some of this nerddom here, but first, Taylor and I, we start every episode out with what have we been nerding out about this week? And I'll jump this one over to you, Taylor. What have you been nerding out about this week?
What I have been nerding about this week is actually to get ready. I was like, I'll do something Superman media related this week. So I read Superman Smashes the Klan, which is a graphic novel that is not like a huge giant like Superman in space or anything, but it just is what it is and straightforward, and it's fun and it's really great.
Awesome. Well, over at my house, my kids have never watched Harry Potter beyond the first one because my kids are pretty little and some of them get kind of dark. But they talked us into a Harry Potter marathon that we started a week or two ago, and we're on the last 3 movies. And the past couple nights we've been watching it, and Taylor knows, and anyone listening knows, my son Oliver is the most sensitive kid when it comes to movies. Well, tonight we watched about an hour before we started this recording Deathly Hallows Part 1, and that scene when Bellatrix throws the blade and it goes through that apparition and gets Dobby, and spoiler alert for a movie that's over 10 years old, Dobby dies. Oliver lost it. He bawled his eyes out, and then that made me kind of cry too. But all that to say, we've been kind of Harry Potter nerding out over here this week. And how about Aaron? What have you been nerding out about lately?
Well, everything, because I'm just a complete nerd in general. But it's funny you bring up the Harry Potter because I haven't seen it or that, but my daughter is really into it right now. And so at night I've been reading to her, but when she goes to bed, we, lay in bed and we read the Harry Potter, and then I watched a little bit of it. But interesting, somehow she found this, I don't know if it's TikTok or what, where she was scrolling Harry Potter, and it kind of went through this whole montage of every Harry Potter character that dies. And so I spent, an hour consoling her of like, it's okay, they died. She's like, but I don't need to watch the movies anymore.
That's awesome.
So that, and I did some golf simulator as well. So I played with a friend on a golf simulator. So that's
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, super cool.
I actually have on my cell phone a lawn simulator, and it's like where you just mow a lawn with a mower. It's really like satisfying in a way that I can't explain, but like it's I know it's a good meditating game, I guess. I don't know. But it's great. It's just lawns and you mow them and then it goes, good job. It's nice.
It's very
you should
affirming.
figure out a way to monetize that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Get them to sponsor us.
Yeah.
Well, hey, speaking of sponsors, this episode is brought to you guys by the Kincaid Arcade in Overland Park, Kansas. You guys know the drill. Get out to the Oak Park Mall, get a bracelet, go in that place, hit up all the arcade games. You can stay as long as you want. You can leave, you can come back for the rest of the day. Kincaid Arcade, can't sing their praises enough. Go check them out.
Yeah, I got to go check them now.
Yes. Well, hey, I want to jump into some questions with the man of the hour here. So obviously what drew me to you was your connection to Superman. So I think I mentioned earlier, Aaron was part of the original Christopher Reeve Superman movie. And for those of you who might be wondering, okay, who was he? Well, he was baby Kal-El that crashed to Earth. And I think that is so awesome. Having said that, you were a real little guy, and I was going to ask you, what kind of memories stand out about that you?
Yeah, it's crazy because I was 3 when I did that, and people are always like, I know you don't remember any of it, but I actually do. It's funny in my childhood, wow. I don't remember anything, and then I remember Superman, right? All 8 days of it,
Yeah.
a lot of it. Then nothing till I was like 5 or 6. But it was such a big part of my life, and everybody was incredible, from Dick Donner, to Phyllis Thaxter. I remember a ton. I remember lifting the truck. I remember behind the scenes stuff with Dick Donner, letting me talk into his walkie-talkie and all of that. So it's a real, and I don't know if people have seen there's a blooper where, they mom and pa can't say, he doesn't have any family, and then she says, not around here anyway. Well, when she said he doesn't have any family, I remember this to my core, feeling guilty because my parents were just sitting off camera there, right? So I don't want them to think I don't love them. So I look up at her and I go, yeah, I do. And it's a blooper. So that's where she had to come in and say, not around here anyway, because I wouldn't shut up saying, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. But I remember that, and I actually remember the feeling of the guilt of like, my parents are going to be sad because they think I love these people more than them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is really awesome.
Yeah, it was. Glenn Ford wasn't a big fan of that blooper though, because I kept messing up. But
a consummate professional.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
and, stuff like Dick Donner let me talk on his walkie-talkie, and I remember him talking to me, when I'm in the capsule about, what to do, and it wasn't like he didn't give direction of like, okay, do this now, do that now, because you never would have gotten a natural, performance from a 3-year-old. So it was always like kind of just sitting down in the capsule and being like, okay, this is what's happening. How would you react? How would you feel? And that sort of stuff. And I remember, and I'm just talking here, but feel free to stop me at any point. At one point, they had to block the scene of me coming out of the capsule, get the camera angle right, and all that. And there were lights in the capsule, and it got up to like 80, 90 degrees when it was closed with those lights in there.
Oh, wow.
So they used David Petro. Now, I'm not sure if you know that, but there's a book called The Making of Superman. David wrote it, and he was on set, and he's a small man. So he actually he would sit in the capsule while they were trying to get, the scenes right. And then the last blocking, they put me in there. And then when I came out, everyone was like, oh, that's great. That's great. So what did you do in there the whole time? And I look up at everybody and I remember this. I say, I just sung "O Canada."
okay, thinking of all of your connections to Superman, you came back for Superman 3. You were the kid that sees Superman, or actually Clark, swoop into the booth to change his clothes, but the photo booth starts going, and you can kind of see he's got his glasses, then he doesn't, then the shirt's open, then he's Superman, then he pulls the strip out, rips off the version of just Superman and hands it to you and flies off, and you're looking at him like, that's so cool. But yeah, you were the kid on the streets of Smallville, right?
Yeah, I was the kid at the photo booth. And fun fact is the lady that played my mom in that scene is my mom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So,
cool.
And then my dad's also in that scene when Superman flies across the street to rescue the guy from the car that was flooding with the water from the fire hydrant. My dad's one of the rescuers in that scene.
Cool.
So it was like a family affair.
Cool.
But yeah, that was filmed in Calgary, and it was just a case of, at that point, I was the go-to child actor in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, because I never cried. I just kind of did they didn't waste any film on me per se, because, I just kind of did everything. So, and then come to find out, they were like, and you were in Superman as well. And that's the actual time I met Chris, was the first time I met him.
Do you have any memories of that moment meeting Chris? Was it kind of overwhelming, or as a child seeing Superman in real life?
Yeah, obviously in Superman 1, I had no idea what Superman was or anything like that. But at that time, I knew what Superman was, and I knew Chris. And obviously Chris at that point was a huge star. So I think I was more enthralled by meeting him than the whole Superman character at that point. But I just remember shaking his hand and my hand disappearing into his hand, because he was just such a big presence. And he really was a big presence. And he was kind and nice and everything. And I think that, I'll get into a story here about what I really learned about being humble, about being a humble actor on set, was from Chris, because on the set of Superman 3, when we were in High River at one point filming a scene with him and Richard Pryor, during lunch, he would sit in the tent with the extras, the crew, me, and that's where he ate his lunch. He didn't eat his lunch in his trailer. So he sat and he talked to everybody. I learned at that point that it was just a job. He didn't see himself as better than anybody else. Other actors, you can't say that about. But So it was just a tremendous learning lesson and wonderful experience for me at that point. And then seeing him fly for the first time was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do have to say that. Even though I knew what they were doing, it was still pretty. I mean, the technology, they didn't have CGI then. So how they did it was phenomenal for that time.
Yeah, their workings of making a man appear to fly was pretty revolutionary for the time period. They kind of set the bar.
And they actually had a spray that they sprayed on the cables that would help it disappear on film.
That's cool. I didn't
that's
know that.
interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was like, why are you spraying the cables? And then come to learn that was part of the reason, because if they sprayed the cables, it wouldn't show up on film.
That makes a lot of sense.
That is cool. Okay, so just to, do a little homework, I was checking out your IMDb list, and there's something I want to bring up in a minute, but I don't want to stray away from Superman yet. So fast forward to recent days, you were a part of the Man of Steel movie with Henry Cavill as Superman, and I thought that was so cool. I think at that point I'd already met you, and then I learned you were going to be on it, and I just remember thinking that was awesome. That was so cool. And you played one of the soldiers that's on the scene with General Swanwick, when Superman, they're questioning him to figure out his intentions and everything. What are some of your memories about that and how that whole process happened?
So that was an interesting process, and this speaks wonders to Dick Donner again. I can't say enough. Incredible man. But how that came about is I heard it was coming out, and a really good friend of mine who runs a really insanely incredible website for Superman called CapeWonder.com, Jim Bowers. We were talking, and I said to him, it would be real cool to be in the first Superman, and then more than likely the last Superman. So he's like, why don't you reach out to Dick? So I did. So I called Dick's office. I got his assistant, and I said who I was and blah, blah, blah. And I said, and he goes, just a minute. And he puts me on the phone with Dick Donner. And I said to Dick, I think it would just be very cool to be in the first Superman and then be in the last Superman. I don't think anybody would be able to say that. He said, I agree, send me your stuff. So I sent him my headshot and resume. He sent it over to Zack Snyder's crew, and that was it. They wrote me in.
That is so cool.
The funny thing about that is they're like, yeah, we'll write you in. We'll get you some lines. You'll get it soon enough. I'm like, okay. Well, I show up on set and I still hadn't seen the scene or my lines. So I get the sides and I read, and there's nothing there. I show up on set and they're blocking and they're rehearsing. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, somebody says their line. Chris Maloney says his line. And then everybody stops and looks at me. And I don't say anything because I haven't got my lines yet. And Zach's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I wasn't told my line. So I felt like a bit of a schmuck at that time. I'm like, here they write me in and I don't even know how to speak. But it was great. Henry was insane. People were like, well, what do you think of him? And at first I said, I hated him. People were like, really? People love drama, right? They want to hear all the gossip. They're like, really? Why? Yeah. Why was he such a jerk? I said, just imagine that all the women in the world got together and they created their perfect guy. And there you go. There's Henry Cavill. And then he has a British accent.
Yeah.
So he was great. And we chatted, and he really held what Chris did and Chris's character of Superman to heart and really wanted. And he said to me, I want to honor that, but I don't want to copy it.
Yeah.
And he was just a lovely, lovely guy.
That's awesome. So one last question about the Superman part of your life. As of recent days, there's a really cool film coming about called Superman Solar, and you were invited to be part of that cast. Tell us a little bit about that and then who you portrayed in this film.
Yeah, so this other Superman, fan, great person, Andrew List, reached out to me on and told me about this idea he had and that he's been working on for 2 years. And it was a fantastic story. It really dives into what Superman is really about. And I just loved, the message it had. And so we talked about me playing a role in it. And I jumped on board. I said, yeah, absolutely. It's great. So he said, well, we got to get the budget and we got to get crowdfunding. And so we did that, and we raised the money for it. And I am playing Lex Luthor in it. And it was, it was such a great opportunity. I mean, who can say they played Superman and Lex? But wild. It was a great script and great crew, great people to work with. And I just really enjoy playing the bad characters in stuff I've done. And so I studied for it. Now, I'm not going to give too much away, but there's more to come. But how I took this role of Lex is I studied all of them. I studied Michael Rosenbaum, Jesse, who else was there? Kevin Spacey, and then of course Gene Hackman. And I took a little bit of all of them and their portrayal of Lex and kind of combined it into one different sort of new Lex character, hopefully. And then, how I saw him as well. But it's great. I mean, for the budget and how it looks, you guys are in for a treat. I can't wait for it to come out. And I already, I've told Andrew from the beginning, I'm like, I hope you're writing the sequel right now. He's like, well, I don't know. We'll see if people like it. I'm like, trust me, start writing, because people are going to be dying to see more once this comes out. So,
oh yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And the guy Glenn that plays Superman, this is his first acting gig, did a phenomenal job. But his look is spot on. And again, it's really weird. I'm nerding out right now. His whole aura about who he is as a person is the same as Superman. It's really weird.
Yeah,
Chris. It was a Superman character, just who he was. Henry, Brandon, when I met, same thing with him. Tom Welling. That's a funny story. I went to do a convention and Tom and I were going to be at the convention. I sit down, I look over, and guess who's sitting next to me on the plane? It was Tom Welling. I look at him and I go, I was Superman before you were. So we started up a conversation. And then Glenn, who does this, it's just a really weird coincidence that they all have the same wonderful humanity about them as people, and they're playing Superman.
That's awesome.
Present company excluded, but
that is so fun. So do we have any idea when that's going to become available for people to watch?
The goal is March.
The goal is March. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. The goal is March. Friday, he's going to be putting up on Facebook a teaser trailer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, for those of you listening and wondering, it's called Superman Solar. Look it up on Facebook, and sounds like we're getting a trailer really soon. And March, you'll get to watch it. I'm so excited.
And there's an incredible scene. I say that incredible because it was written well and shot well, and it looked great with Superman and me. It was a lot of fun to do that scene.
That is so cool.
Cool.
Funny because, and I'm just talking again, shut me up if you guys want, but it's like, I think me and Margot, have been in the most Superman movies out of anyone, because I was in one, then I was in two Superman 2s, right? Because there's the Donner cut, right? So then, and that's 3. Then Superman 3 is 4. Man of Steel's 5, and now Superman Solar. I mean, I don't know if you count that, but that's 6. So, but 5 real Superman franchises.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's rad.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier when I was kind of doing a little research, looking through your IMDb, one thing jumped out to me. One of my favorite shows, and it's really weird because it was one of my favorites in middle school and high school, and I saw you on the list, and then I look into what episode, and I remember it plain as day, and I can't believe I didn't realize it was you. You were in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV
How
series.
did I know you were going to say
that? I've talked about that on this podcast before, how that was one of my favorite shows in high school and middle school, and you can't stream it anywhere. I think you can buy it. You can buy it on Amazon, I think. But I saw your face and like a picture pulled up of your character. I think you were like a football player in school, and
right.
It all flooded back to me. I'm like, how did I not realize that was him?
Well, and that was Thomas Ian Nicholas, right, from American Pie.
Right.
Yeah. And it's so funny that you're talking about that, because I literally I was talking to him today, and that song he sang, Amy's song, was actually, that's his real voice singing, and I always bug him about that. And we were just talking about that today. That's too funny.
That's awesome.
And another interesting fact is the chimp that was in that, because there was a monkey in that. I don't know, Taylor, if you saw it or whatever. If you didn't, that's okay.
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing if you didn't see it. But the chimp that was in that, he was like 2. And then I did another movie called MVP, Most Valuable Primate, and it was the same chimpanzee that was in that was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Did it remember you?
I don't. He smacked me with a magazine while we were sitting in the locker room, so maybe he did. Maybe he was still holding a grudge.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
We actually lost a couple hours of shooting that day on MVP because he escaped. He got out of his holding and was running around the arena, so we had to find him.
Oh wow! How long did it take?
It took a couple hours to get him finally back, calm down, and settle down. Because he was like 5. He was like, a teenager just having a blast running around. And he actually did skate, which was funny.
Oh, wow.
That's hilarious. All right, man. So I guess my last question here is, what's out there on the horizon for you? What's new that we could be looking for, maybe?
Right now, not much, man. Just, Superman Solar, that's about it. I worked a lot and then I took a break. I had, family stuff. I'm a father, and that became priority rather than paycheck to paycheck type of thing and not knowing. So, and then just stuff in life that happened. So I kind of been out for a while, looking to get back in and excited about the Superman Solar, you guys are going to be in for a treat, and we'd love honest feedback and look for that and see what's next. But Taylor, you've been quiet. Do you have any questions? Feel free to ask any questions.
No, Billie's the big Superman guy, so I let him take point on this one.
What?
But yeah. I guess I do have one question.
Yeah,
you know
sure.
how all the Spider-Men have a group chat? Do all the Superman or Super Kid have a group chat?
We do not have a group chat.
You don't have a group chat from the kid from Superman Returns?
No,
No,
I
you
start
should.
that though. You should reach out.
That's hilarious.
People always, they love to talk about, the naked, right? That you were naked. What was that like? How that
Yeah.
so
Well,
but I actually, they had to bribe me to come out naked.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, Billy,
With
you've
what?
heard this story. It started out with a 6-pack of Coke,
Okay.
right? Real Coca-Cola. That didn't work. And then Dick Donner got me like a snow globe, right? He got it when he was filming in Banff. That didn't work. And finally, they were like, "Well, what do you like?" I was like, "I like gum." So he's like, "Perfect. Anybody got any gum?" Somebody pulls out, like, try it, and I'm like, "No, I want a juicy fruit." So somebody had juicy fruit. They gave me some. We'll give you juicy fruit, a pack of juicy fruit. I was like, "Okay." Whoop. There we go.
Yep.
That was that. But yeah, that was always a funny thing. And now they obviously now with they can't show any of that stuff. But people were always like, "Your parents were the worst parents. They let you be naked on a movie screen and stand under a truck that had one cable holding it up." But fun fact is, Gene Hackman's brother, Richard Hackman, was a stunt coordinator on that, and he was laying like 3 feet from me while I was underneath the truck. His job was to grab me if the cable broke.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what it would have taken me to do that, but Juicy Fruit might have done it for me too back then.
Yeah, just go ahead. At one convention, somebody heard that story, so they came up to the table and they were talking to me, and they pulled out a pack of Juicy Fruit, and I was like, "Don't even think about it."
That's hilarious.
I'm a lot older now. One show I worked on was Lonesome Dove, and that was cool because there were people that were on Superman that would come like guest stars and work on that. So that was a lot of fun because I got to work with a ton of real cool, guest stars. Like the names are all, but I nerded out on that because I was a huge WWF fan. And Bret the Hitman Hart had like 6
amazing.
episodes on it. And I got to know him. And so he invited me over to his house. So I went over to Bret the Hitman's house and I saw all of his like championship belts.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was a pretty
crapped myself.
Yeah,
Taylor's a big wrestling guy.
Did
cool.
Did he on the show? Did he ever give anybody some sweet chin music?
It's funny too because he was such a calm, nice, quiet individual.
That's
but I guess when he grew up training in the dungeon, because that was his dad, he had in his basement in his house in Calgary, Alberta, had a dungeon, but that was where he would train all the 8 boys for wrestling was down there. And there was like no mats or like pillows were mats and they'd slam him on there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. That was pretty neat to hear. But yeah, so that's it. But this is fantastic. I'm so honored that you guys chose me to be on the 100th episode. It's humbling, and 100 episodes is huge. So thank you guys very much for allowing, me to spend 45 minutes with you guys. It's been an honor and it's great. And, anybody listening, keep listening. Let's share this, get more listeners, and feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook with any questions. I'll respond. I think Billy, you can, attest to that I'd love to interact with everybody and as much as I can.
Awesome.
Yeah, find him out there on Facebook, Aaron Smolinski, and like he said, he's a great guy. He'll answer any of your Superman questions, or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV series.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, any of them, any of that, any of the movies of the week, the Scott Foley movie I did, all the other anything that you ask questions, I'll tell you.
That's awesome.
Just don't send me juicy fruit.
Yeah, no juicy fruit.
That's like I get juicy fruit in the mail. I'm like, oh boy, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. No, I'm not 3 anymore. Same rules don't apply.
Awesome.
You should just start signing them and sending them back with like XXX on them.
Yeah. Good idea.
Awesome.
Keep
Well,
the juicy fruit and just put mint gum in it instead.
Yeah.
well, hey, all that kind stuff you said, we want to throw it right back at you, man. Thanks for joining us, and
Absolutely.
it's been awesome. And everyone, like you said, find him on social media. Go like the Superman Solar page on Facebook, and
Yes.
that's going to be a treat. I cannot wait till that comes out. And yeah, anyone who loves Superman, check out Aaron, check out his socials, check out Superman Solar. But yeah, again, thanks for joining us, man. And for those of you guys listening, I've been Billy Taylor.
And I'm Taylor Oxner.
And come back for episode 101. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys. Take care, everyone. Be well.
Bye.
Bye.